I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater. Our story begins in Antarctica at a science station operated by a young couple. They're doing research into growing plankton to use as a food source for people. They get their supplies via regular visits from the Seaview.
Ice Station T for Tick-Tock to Seaview. Ice Station T for Tick-Tock to Seaview. Come in, Seaview, come in. Ice Station T for Tick-Tock to Seaview.
It's not the Seaview, it's much better. He can't get hold of them. There's a magnetic storm in the area that's hosing most all communication. He's Pennell, he doesn't have a first name. His wife is Karen, and she's cold.
I thought you told me you come from Hardy Pioneer stock when I married you.
Well, I was just putting you on. So I could spend my honeymoon stuck on an ice floe near the South Pole, just pulling samples of plankton out of the ocean. What every girl wants.
She'd like to break out the extra heaters for a while. Actually, she'd like to generate a different sort of heat, but he's a bit focused right now. She'll take a nap instead while he plays with his plankton. Everybody's got a name for it.
Preliminary separations of the bacterial and enzyme properties of beta, delta, and kappa plankton samples reveal unstable stacking of atoms of lattice.
The Fingals seem to have inconjugable bonds with the Dorpingadors, which causes the Fropes to establish connections with other Fropes and co-Froks to form a more indomitable substance I have chosen to call Fropingador.
A plankton rises to the surface of water in darkness, sinks again at sunrise. This is a process long observed without adequate evidence to explain the phenomenon. It has been attributed to light and to heat without any correlating evidence to support a definite conclusion.
He hasn't noticed that under the heat, his plankton samples are growing. A lot. Now he noticed. Too bad for their honeymoon, but when the plankton is that big, everything looks like a diatom. Pennell was played by Steve. I'm not going to butcher that. He was born in what was then Czechoslovakia, but his family fled to the West when World War II broke out. He had a decent acting career, but it was cut short by a heart attack that took him away at 38. He had played a well-known character named Garth on Star Trek, and we saw him in an episode of Honey West where his character's name, oddly enough, was Garth. He was getting well established as a character actor, and it's too bad we'll never get to see what else he could have given us. Take care of your heart. Doesn't matter how old you are. Take it from me. You don't want to make it angry.
This is the result from the R22 series.
I'll have the analysis correlated.
Don't bother. It's worthless. We're on the wrong track.
I've said that all along, Dr. Reisner. The Pennells are much closer to the answer.
This plankton thing is a coordinated effort. Dr. Reisner there is heading up the overall project. Miss Lyle is also there, and I'm not sure Reisner likes it.
Miss Lyle, I've heard you say that before, and I hope I don't have to hear it again. This is not a report for your Agricultural Information Department. I will be the one to decide what is the correct approach.
I think he needs to go watch the two-headed monster on Sesame Street and learn how to cooperate. We've seen David Opatoshu many times in Honey West, Mr. Terrific, and lots more. I believe I talked about him in Honey West, so check out the episode where he played Kelso King. Julie Lyle is played by Jill Ireland. This is the first time we've seen her, and it would have been nice to see her more. She also had a good career going as a character actor, but hers was cut short by cancer. She was 54. Is this episode cursed? It could make you wonder. While they argue, Captain Crane has another ingredient to stir into the pot.
Excuse me, Admiral, we have a problem here.
Meaning me. I am sick and tired of being treated like a common seaman. Do I have to remind you that I represent the company whose investment made this research possible? Now, we have a healthy curiosity about how you are spending our money on this plankton thing.
Money is way more important than food. You should know that. I'm Mr. Money. Bow down to me. All hail the almighty dollar. I count beans. Look upon me and tremble.
I can assure you, my report will not set well with them.
I realize, sir, it is not easy to share a cabin with a scientist.
With a Nazi.
Oh yes, and the professor did work in Hitler's Germany. Once Germany surrendered, he came to the United States and has spent the past 2 decades trying to make up for his mistake. Some people can't let it go. Wesley is one of those, and he gets his jollies being the fly that lands in your coffee. So here's what you do. Give him the tape of Pinnell's report on the plankton and let him spend the next 50 years with a scientific dictionary trying to understand it. That should keep him out of your hair at least. Cut to a mansion the size of a small city and the guy who runs it.
You've lost contact of the Seaview, General.
It's a magnetic storm. It has made our tracking instruments erratic.
This should have been foreseen.
It was. There's already an agent aboard the submarine who at the proper time shall activate a homing signal, and then we shall have a true fix in the submarine.
And why do they want to give the Seaview a hassle?
Rule the bellies of the people and you rule the people. Rule the people and you rule the world.
Of course, everybody wants to rule the world. That's kind of catchy. I wonder. What? Oh. So his plan is to steal the research and hold the world hostage until they make him ruler. He really seems to think they're the only ones looking into this. Research into plankton as a food source has been going on all over the world. If he intends to control all of it, he's going to be a busy little fellow rounding it all up. The general also said they have a spy on board, which means one of our 3 guests. Wesley Megabucks is the obvious suspect, so my money's on the lady.
Damage control. Fire detail to frame 85 on the double.
One of the professor's experiments didn't go as planned. He has no idea why, but from now on he's barred from doing experiments while they're submerged. They'll have to surface to clear the smoke out. Once that's done, it's back down and head for Ice Station T for TikTok. How our writers managed to foresee TikTok way back in 1964, I do not know. And why some people can't understand that there are certain rules to follow on a submarine, I also do not know.
I don't really see what harm there is. And since we're here anyway, couldn't we take a closer look at that?
Or is that one of your jealously guarded secrets?
The mini-sub isn't classified. But you'd better wait for the captain. This area's out of bounds.
Not to us.
Yes, to us, you. They're involved with the Plankton Project, which has nothing to do with the missile room or the mini-sub. She seems unusually curious about the latter.
Can one person operate it?
It's possible, but it's really a 2-man job.
How do you launch it?
Through an airlock, down there.
Oh, then it's more than a 2-man operation.
Not really. In an emergency, this control activates the airlock mechanism. The 2-man crew can sit right there and launch themselves.
You talk too much, Kowalski. Captain Crane comes in and ushers them out with a warning not to do that again. Then he's called to the radio room. Something weird is coming over the airwaves.
Communication's picking up a strange signal, sir.
From where?
Right on top of us. We may have a sub riding us piggyback.
Could be a power leak.
No, I doubt it. It seems to be a slave circuit tied into a power source. We're trying to pinpoint it right now.
Any identifiable signal?
No, none. Just a standard continuous beep like a homing signal.
Somebody seems awfully anxious to find out what we're doing and where we're going.
They're not curious anymore. Thanks to that beacon, they know exactly where you are.
Our mission, General, has 2 objectives. Plan 1, obtain the secret for synthesizing plankton. Plan 2, sink the Seaview with all hands, so they cannot return with what they know.
I assume he has a plan for the Pinnells, too, because he doesn't know they became food for the food source.
And if the first plan fails?
You'll make sure the second will not.
But I have a valuable agent aboard. I must make provisions for escape from the submarine.
It has been provided for. Once the Seaview reaches the ice station, our agent will be rescued.
I have a feeling your agent already has an alternate plan in mind if that doesn't work. Back on the Seaview, Admiral Nelson has been talking with the professor about the project and other things. He's known the professor for a long time, and he's trying to figure out why he's so intense about this project.
Well, you can't do it by yourself. You've got to learn to trust the people you're working with, and above all, you must have patience.
Patience? I do not have time for patience. 6 months is all I have.
There was an accident in his lab, and he's dying of radiation sickness. He wants this done before his time runs out. They finally reach the ice station. Our 3 guests and the admiral will check it out.
What happened here? What could have caused this?
Nelson to Seaview. Come in, Seaview.
Read you, Admiral. Over.
Tell Captain Crane the ice station's demolished. We're investigating now, trying to determine the cause.
We watch our mystery bad guys confirm that the team has reached the ice station and move on to the next step of their plan.
U.S. Air Force craft J for Jenny, K for Kilo, S for Sugar, 1492 Seaview. Come in, Seaview. Come in, please. Over.
This is Seaview. Who are you? Please identify. You're being tracked. Over.
JKS 149, based out of Baffin Air Reconnaissance Group, instructed to make contact with you. May I land? Your coordinates, please.
He says he's got sealed orders to pick up some egghead they're carrying. Nobody on the Seaview knows anything about this, and it's not like command to do something like this without telling them. Crane's red flags are waving red flags. A simple test will tell him what he wants to know.
Seaview, to JKS 149. Come in, Smiling Jack.
This is the last of the great Birdman. What can I do for you, Pappy?
I meant to ask you before. What part of the States are you from?
The Bronx, Daddy. Pelham Parkway, Southern Boulevard, and 172nd Street.
Great. Then you must know Colonel Washburn from Baffin. He's from your neck of the woods. Have you seen him lately?
Sure, we play pinochle every Friday night.
It's the oldest test in the book, and he failed. Colonel Washburn has been dead for years, and our mystery plane is about to join him.
We missed, Captain. The magnetic storm's fouled up our tracking mechanism.
Correct for error.
Aye, sir.
They'll have to do that stuff manually because the storm is turning all their instruments into whirligigs. While they're setting that up, our pilot has decided it's his turn.
Seaview to Admiral Nelson.
What is it, Lee?
Hostile plane making a pass. Take cover.
Gotta get back to the submarine.
Okay, so they're both lousy shots. This is going to take some run time.
No! No!
They all assumed she was hysterical. We know the real reason she was going to stay behind, don't we? She's the spy, and that's her getaway car. Except she's not getting away, and that's not a car.
Missile locked on target.
Scratch one bogey.
Now it's not a plane either. Looks like the bad guys lose again because he won't be picking anybody up or sinking any submarines. While the Seaview dives, Reisner is playing with Plankton and Wesley is trying to bring Julie around.
Sorry, I had to hit you. Only way I could think of to save your life.
We're moving.
Yes. We're safe now. A couple 100 feet below the ice and heading home.
No!
Take it easy, ma'am.
Let me go. We've got to surface. I've got to stop them.
I can't let her get up now. Hold her down for me, please, will you?
Let me go. I've got to see the captain.
She'll keep her for about an hour or so.
Please, lay back.
Roll up her sleeve.
No! Captain Crane, help! Captain Crane, help!
I missed my plane! We didn't. I'm not sure what the point of waking her and then sedating her is, but whatever her message for the captain is, it'll have to wait. I'm guessing it had something to do with that. In the lab, conditions on the sub are warm enough that the plankton is growing again.
From what we can tell, there was a miniature limit attached to the depth gauge. Once we get below 400 feet, it was rigged to go off.
But would anyone want to sink the Seaview with himself on board?
Must have rigged it while we're on the surface.
That explains the phony Air Force plane. Whoever planned the bomb planned to get away in the plane.
And that pretty well tells us it was Julie, because if it had been one of the others, he would have found a way to stay behind. She tried, but got overruled.
What do you think of this, sir?
Behold the homing beacon. It just happens to look an awful lot like the professor's lighter, which he can't seem to find. What a coincidence.
That is not my lighter.
Where is yours, Doctor?
I don't know, but what does it matter? That is not my lighter.
Patterson! Just take this man to his cabin. Keep him under arrest.
Aye, sir.
Maybe you should take him to the lab instead. Something there may require his attention. Or maybe it will come to him.
What was that explosion?
We've got our hands full right now. We'll talk about it later.
What was it? I have a right to know.
Mr. Wesley, go to your cabin.
I demand to know what is going on.
Wesley, get out of here!
There are people who simply can't handle any level of importance. It goes to their heads and they start to think they are the company and therefore they are the money and all that. Wesley is one of those. You don't walk up to the captain of a ship during a crisis and start demanding things. They just might revive an old tradition from the pirate days, clap you in irons.
We're holding steady, sir. All engines stopped.
If we can rig a manual pump to each of the ballast tanks, we can blow them in surface.
Have a radio Baffin to fly on replacement parts.
You may want to make sure you order all the parts because there are a few you don't know about yet.
We lost our generators.
Our gyro stabilizers are. We're losing trim.
Switch to manual.
Nothing happened, sir. We're dropping. Get 2 technicians up to the gyro room on the double.
Kowalski, Fox, get back to the gyro room. Jump!
Kowalski is one of our regulars. We haven't seen Fox before.
Where do you get stuck?
Kowalski! Fox, give me your hand! Help! Kowalski,
I guess we won't see Fox again either. Kowalski is so traumatized he can barely tell them what happened, and no bulkhead, hatch, or anything else seems capable of stopping this stuff. They use some CO2-based fire extinguishers to drive it back long enough for the admiral to restore power to their controls. Unfortunately, now Captain Crane and Curly are trapped on one side of it while the rest of them are on the other side. They'll try to close as many hatches on both sides as they can and contain this thing in the middle. But again, nothing will hold it for long. They need a permanent solution to this. That means Professor Reisner. He and the Admiral will start going over the records the Pinnells left in hopes of finding an answer to what's going on here, and more important, what to do about it. Back at his cabin, Wesley isn't used to being sent to his room without supper, and he's not taking it well.
Someone sabotaged the controls and we're sinking. We're all gonna die.
I'm not.
You don't understand. There's no way out.
Wesley.
How much do you want to live?
What are you talking about?
You're quite right about the sabotage. I planted the bomb.
And she intends to take the mini-sub and get out of here. He's invited to join her. She has what looks like a Colt 45 automatic pistol to reinforce her plan. Right now, the captain and several others are trapped in the missile room where the mini-sub is, and the plankton is making its way toward them. How's that solution coming, Admiral?
Something was done to the plankton. Some radiation was used or some chemical added. But Pinnell left no indication.
His records are incomplete. The tape was damaged and probably part of it destroyed.
Answer, it isn't. But Nelson just noticed something odd in the Pinnell's personal materials.
His wedding license.
Wedding license.
Says here that Robert V. Pinnell was married to Karen Joyce Comstock.
So, Karen. His wife's name was Karen.
I've always liked the name Karen. It bugs me a little that it's come to refer to it Karen.
But on the tape he kept calling for Anna. Anna. Huh? Well, don't you see, he wasn't calling for his wife. He was trying to speak when the plankton attacked him. What he must have been trying to say was anaerobic.
Anaerobic bacteria?
Bacteria that lives on air.
Just the opposite, Admiral. Anaerobic means it lives in the absence of air. More specifically, oxygen. Oxygen tends to be toxic to these life forms.
Then it wasn't something that was added to the plankton, but something that was missing that made it grow.
Exactly.
They conclude that some type of anaerobic bacteria normally lives on this plankton and keeps it from getting out of hand like this. When Karen raised the temperature in the hut, it destroyed the bacteria and removed the safeguard. But they don't happen to have any anaerobic bacteria in the fridge to put back on it. That means they have to get this thing back in the cold water where it can pick up more. The only question is how.
But we can't cut the heat off. The electrical system's dead.
And someone's got to get into flood control and open the emergency hatch to the sea. The inrushing freezing water should do it.
Anybody who tries to go in there is dead.
It's our only chance.
We all know who the logical one to do it is, but it may not be necessary.
Admiral, I've got an idea. Don't let it...
Lee. Lee, come in, Lee. Line's dead. Communication system's out.
Then I suggest you wait and see what he has in mind. His plan is to suit up with a tank and go outside so he can open those hatches from there. If he can do that before he gets too cold, which means about 10 minutes, everybody should survive, including him. In the control room, Professor Reisner is insisting that he has to go in there and flood those compartments. He has the least to lose since he's dying anyway, and if he doesn't, everybody becomes monster food. While Crane is heading into the airlock, Patterson is trying to rig up some kind of communication.
Missile room to control room. Missile room to control room. Missile room to control room.
Yes, Patterson. It's Nelson. Come in.
The captain's outside the sub, sir. He said don't try to enter the flood control chamber. He's going to open the hatch from topside.
Thanks, Patterson. Well, Doctor, you heard. I just about decided that you were the one.
It was a simple matter of figuring out who the plane was expecting to pick up. Again, she was the only one incapable of staying behind. The other two couldn't wait to get back to the sub. That doesn't even put undue strain on the synapses. She says, get out of the way, we're heading to the mini-sub and getting out of here. They're trying to explain to her that that's a bad idea.
Open it.
You can't go through there. It's alive with plankton.
And room for the plankton!
She said they had nothing to lose. She was mistaken. They get the hatch closed just in time, but it's plain to see there's nothing they could have done for her. Set your consciences at ease, gentlemen. Not only did she insist on this, she shot the Admiral to get it. And by the way, he's okay. The bullet just grazed him and his shoulders slowed it down enough that it didn't damage any equipment. Not exactly the best way to protect your gear, but sometimes there's no time to think it through.
Listen. The flood control chamber's open to the sea. It's over.
But did it finish digesting before Captain Crane opened the valves, or did you just spew the poor thing out there with a half-eaten meal? And when it's done, how hard is it for a giant plankton to poop out a handgun?
Dr. Reisner? One of the crewmen found this under a table in the wardroom. I think it's yours.
That means Julie planned the whole thing right down to replacing his lighter when he wasn't looking. All that time he was chewing her out and treating her like an inferior. She was playing him like a streaming video.
I hope what we know now is worth what it cost.
Someday it will be. We won't see it, but we've opened the door.
We won't see it because we'll have smoked ourselves into an early grave, but somebody will see it. If all the smoking bothers you, you're not alone. The 50s and early 60s presented it as just a thing people do, mainly because it was. Art was reflecting life in that regard. And as the habit started falling out of favor and we learned more and more about how tobacco companies had lied to us, television and movies started to reflect that too. But in this instance, it looks to me like the solution to the problem. Teach that thing to smoke, and the next thing you know, it'll be shriveling up into a quivering, coughing mass of goo that you can then clean up with a shop vac. Sometimes it's easy to miss the answer that's right in front of you, not to say sticking out of your mouth.
I'm breathing underwater, I'm weightless through space. I'm soaring like an eagle all over this place. Creatures most will never see are waiting there to look at me, and all I gotta do is breathe underwater.
Money is way more... Blah, 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 blah. She tried, but got over... Blah, 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 blah. Are the money or all that? Yeah. Okay. Before he gets. Okay. His plan. Oh, come on. Oh, good grief! Stop that. Right, so he can open the. Now do it with some air. You can then clean up with a shock vac. Shock vac? Really?